I'm 17. I can't wait.
This is awesome!
But Hank, you're gonna find out about the others. Quit at the others.
People of America, my blood will soon be on your hands. Every one of you watching me right now, you are consenting to my execution. By giving your support to this show and to their advertisers, you are the root of the problem of this sick and inhuman practice. Don't be fooled. Just because this is happening in another country doesn't mean that you and your government are responsible. Political leaders from every nation have been working side by side, turning a blind eye to the worldwide broadcasting of this show and its corporate sponsorship by American and European conglomerates. By slowly making it a part of every country's daily life, without their people having the guilt of having it be made in their own backyard, they've managed to accomplish the unthinkable. The acceptance of mass murder as a national pastime.
Look at what we have here. A lovely little political martyr.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, what a shame.
Justin, Eric, Nathan, and Joseph, tell us what to do.
It's Linnea Quigley, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues. This is episode 342, and this time we're heading over Japan via Canada for, is it Maurice, I should know, I did interview him some years ago, Maurice Devereaux. I always thought it was Devereaux, but it's Maurice. No, it's actually pronounced Maurice Devereaux.
Oh.
Because I didn't know that. I would have said Maurice Devereaux, but apparently is Maurice Devereaux is how it's pronounced. But then, as they've always said, you shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet. So I don't know.
Yeah, like Susie is good, that type of thing.
Well, see, as ever, Eric's kind of embarrassed us in front of a guest and friend of the show. Jake Rubenstein is joining us, and it's his suggestion. So if you love or hate this movie, then Jake's to blame. So welcome aboard.
Yeah, hey, and apologies in advance if you hate the movie. It's definitely going to be a fun one to discuss. So.
Yeah, I think it will be a fun one to discuss. And without giving any spoilers, I think there are some widely varying opinions on this movie. So I think it will be an interesting mass debate, won't it, Eric?
Justin, you're so lowbrow.
How are you doing, Eric, today?
I'm doing good, yes, thank you.
Still in black, I see.
Yeah, with my it's a face hugger t-shirt today. I think it glows in the dark, actually. It's quite new, so I haven't tested it yet.
I didn't think you had any toy merch, but obviously, anyway, it's nice to see that. And Nathan, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing very well.
Excellent. Well, you recovered, because last time we recorded, you had to excuse yourself to hurl.
Yes, I did. And it was not fun, but I'm over that sickness this weekend.
Excellent. Well, you're looking chipper, so that's good to see. And last but not least, Joseph, how's it hanging?
About 3 inches.
That all?
From the ground.
Oh, right.
Right. Anyway,
Jake, where in the world are you, Jake, by the way?
Oh, so I'm based in Long Island, so a little bit of ways from y'all. Yes,
well, we're going to get straight into it because, we're going to talk about some recently seen after we've done the main show, but slashers. As I kind of teased before, I did actually interview the director many moons ago after his film End of Line came out. End of the Line. It was from 2007, which probably talk a bit more about. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but because I was trying to remember, I had seen slashers before, but it must have been when I interviewed the director, because I didn't check on Hysteria Lives and I hadn't reviewed it, which I might kind of correct now, but I must have watched it when I was ahead of interviewing him so many moons ago. But yeah, tell us about slashers and why you picked it.
We are now extremely proud to present you with Slashers' first All-American Special! It's every man and woman to themselves, and whoever is left standing at the end of the show is a winner!
Mr. Director, I'm ready for my close-up.
So I think the best way I could explain this movie is think The Running Man, but if it was done on like a micro budget, and instead of having like trained killers, it was just slashers who were essentially convicts that they picked up from prison and just offered money to. Each killer kind of has their own persona. So for this movie, there's 3 of them. You have Chainsaw Charlie, who's kind of like this like hillbilly redneck sort of, I guess, in a way, think about like Bizarro Leatherface or something like that. Then you have Dr. Ripper, who's just kind of like the mad doctor. And then finally the Preacher Man, who is just like the gospel crazed killer. So that's my slight overview. I mean, you guys are over 340 episodes into the show and you haven't picked slashers, you know, that was a real brainchild. But I mean, aside from that, it's just a movie that I kind of hold near and dear to my heart. It's a movie that one of my best friends showed me a few years ago, and it really resonated with me. I thought it was just like a really creative and ambitious movie, and something that, like, you know, I hadn't really seen in the genre before. So for those reasons, and the fact that I thought it was just like a really fun pick in general, is kind of why I went with it for this episode.
Very succinct and very well put together. Yes. So it was. So you say you saw slashers at the first time. It's not a film that you've got a long history with. It's something you saw relatively recently.
I would say I saw the movie for the first time probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
Because I did see it's just come out on Blu-ray, hasn't it, from TerraVision?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks incredible. And I think there's 2 cuts on there. I took one for the team and watched the 2-hour cut, which I hadn't seen before, which I think is kind of exclusive to that disc. But we'll come back to you, Jake, and talk a little bit more about your thoughts. But I'm interested. I've got a feeling, Eric, I'm going to come to you first because I'm interested in what you thought of slashers.
Yeah, not a fan at all, I'm afraid. I had seen this before. I saw it maybe about 15 years ago, and all I could remember was not liking it, and that it was a bit tedious because it just felt like a number of people walking from room to room with no kind of plot. And when I say rooms, I mean bin liners and duct tape taped to the wall and that type of thing. I mean, I like the idea of the show, of the setup, and I think the opening is really good with the Japanese hosts introducing us to what slashers is all about. I thought there was a really catchy theme song to the show. It's when the 5 or the 6 contestants are introduced that I sort of lost interest with it. I do love the idea that you can win $10 million on this show, and yet it looks so incredibly cheap. As I said, bin liners and crepe paper and cardboard sets. And I mean, I know there's supposed to be no rules to the TV show slashers, but it would have helped if there was, because having no structure to the TV show means that there's kind of no structure to the film either. It feels sort of meandering and aimless. You know, I don't quite understand why the 6 contestants don't just gang up and overpower their very, very human opponents. It seems like it would be quite easy to win this show if I'm honest. I mean, it's 6 against. I mean, the 3 slashers are never really together at the same time, so I think they could overpower them. My main problem with the film is that lead actress. It's not that her acting is bad. It's just that the way she plays the character, she just moans and cries all the way through the movie. I think her name is Megan.
Who does that remind you of, Eric?
And Justin Kurzweil, if you know of him. Have you heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you compare me to Megan from Slashers? How rude.
You're getting quite the repertoire of chilling names, aren't you, Eric?
I've lost my train of thought now. When she came on screen, I was like, "Ooh, she looks like Gloria Estefan." Except that, I know this is a cliche to say, it's the Temu version of Gloria Estefan. I did like the twist that this possible spoiler territory, that one of the contestants turns out to be a serial killer. But that little sort of plot nugget and interest in that twist lasted about 2 minutes, and then I was kind of bored again. But Megan, I was expecting her character to maybe have a twist in her as well. I thought she's vague about what her motives are for going onto the show. She wants to bring the show down from within. Basically, she's against everything it represents about, snuff TV. The other characters on the show were slightly more interesting. I think Nathan said this as well. The girl with the red hair, I thought she was giving me sort of 90s indie pop lead singer vibe, and I thought she was much more sympathetic character, I suppose.
Tolerable.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, tolerable is probably it. I think one thing they missed out on possibly was, as I said, the film kind of feels like it has no structure. I think they should have had to solve puzzles as they went into each room, kind of like Saw or Cube. It would have maybe given a bit more oomph to the plot. As it is, as I said, it feels like they're moving from one room to another with no real aim. I don't really understand what the end game is of this TV show within the TV show, or within the movie, I should say. But for me, the biggest problem with the film is the character of Megan. I just find her incredibly unwatchable. I was hoping it was leading to her getting sort of the ultimate death in the film. But she ends up, spoiler alert, surviving to the end. I would have given an extra star to my review if they'd killed her off. But now, one thing I will really praise the film for is the gore scenes. I thought the gore was really well handled. It is low budget, but I thought they did really well on their low budget. There's people sawn in half, with a chainsaw, like in pieces. Somebody gets their head chopped off, and they're all kind of filmed almost as if they're in one continuous take. Now, there is opportunities for them to cut because there's kind of strobing lights. So when it cuts to black, it gives them a chance to maybe cut to a dummy. But I thought it was really, really well done. And the gore certainly will tick the box for any gore hound. But the rest of the film didn't do a lot for me, I'm afraid. Just not my cup of tea at all. So that's my tuppence on Slashers.
Okay, well, I did warn you, Jake, there might be some vastly differing opinions, but I'm going to go to somebody next who I feel might have a warmer take on the movie. Nathan, what did you think of Slashers?
I saw it when it first came out back in 2001, and I absolutely loved it, and I still absolutely love it. I think it is very entertaining to me. Like all the characters, even though, like Eric said, Megan can be very frustrating to watch in the beginning. I think she gets better as the movie goes on, but they have her kind of whining and crying for way too long. I feel like, if she had kind of toughened up earlier in the movie, then I don't know if it would have been as bad, but it takes her a pretty long time to finally toughen up enough to try to defend herself. It seems like most of the rest of the movie, she's hiding behind everybody else. But yeah, and I was fine with her character overall, but I do find the other characters, to kind of be more interesting. I love Brenda, like Eric was saying. I found her to be very likable, and I kind of hated to see her die when she finally did, because I actually think I would have preferred to see her as the survivor. I liked Rebecca. She's the first one to die. She's kind of the really tough girl who, she basically single-handedly kills one of them herself, which I thought was fun. Her death, even though the gore effects probably linger too long, it kind of looked kind of hokey, but I thought it was kind of fun. Her whole body getting sawed in half. I love the scenes where it's basically they're going to a commercial break and you have to freeze during the commercial break. There can't be any action or anything. And I found it interesting, especially when it's one of the commercials where Chainsaw Charlie has them trapped on this bridge and they have to wait. And Rick basically says, I know I'm going to die, but I'm going to take you with me. And kind of freaks Chainsaw Charlie out, and then he drops his whole act and kind of starts talking like he would normally speak. And I thought that was very interesting to see him kind of drop character when he realized he's probably going to die. And I did find the twist with the serial killer to be kind of interesting and a bit different. The only thing I might have done a little bit different is I feel like the character of Michael is incredibly obnoxious from the very beginning. And I'm like, I feel like if they had made him maybe a little more normal, that the whole serial killer twist would have been more of a shock. But he just gets progressively obnoxious as the movie goes on. And, you kind of get to where you're rooting for the slashers to take him out as well. But yeah, overall, I'm like, I like the slashers. I love the idea of the contest. There was a movie I saw before this came out. It was called Series 7, The Contenders. And I love that movie. I think it's incredibly good. And to me, it kind of reminded me of that in the way that you have real people basically competing and basically getting murdered for real. And which is pretty insane. But I mean, who knows with the way the world's going, we may get to that point at some point. But I do think Hideo, the cameraman, had a very good point at the end, because Megan's like, something about, you helped me, because he's the one that stops Michael from killing her. And, he's just like, well, he goes, I don't really care about you or anybody else stupid enough to come here. He's like, you want to play with your life? Fine. But he's like, I wasn't going to let, the serial killer back out to kill again. But I think it's also interesting. I mean, it's like, do you have a lot of sympathy for the people that are willing to go on this show and basically, die for money? I don't know. I feel like in reality, it would probably be a lot of really poor and down on their luck people that are desperate playing this game to win. I think that's probably what we would more have. It'd probably be almost like, the rich executives exploiting these poor people for ratings to, basically kill them as well. I think that would be an interesting commentary if they had kind of gone that route. But regardless, I think the movie is fantastic. I really don't have many complaints. I could rewatch it because I have many times. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for me.
Excellent. Well, as I said, Jake, some wildly differing opinions, which always makes it interesting. I've got a feeling certain Joseph Henson might, I don't know, do you fall somewhere in the middle, or you more on Megan's side? I mean, Eric.
Shut up, Chainsaw Justin.
I don't know about that, but I think the entire budget to this movie probably went to craft services. And by craft services, I'm talking the McDonald's value menu at best. Like you guys said, the film plays like this kind of like a faux reality show, or like maybe found footage version of like The Running Man or Battle Royale or The Hunger Games if you're under 40, where they have this like where reality television's kind of basically seeped below its current muck by sanctioning murder and general human abuse for ratings. And we get like you said, the 6 survivors from various backgrounds. They're essentially running this spook house obstacle course. It looks like a paintball course. It's kind of like, the premise is kind of like the most dangerous game in a way. And, while putting a slasher movie spin on it, that material certainly opens up a lot of possibilities for, gory set pieces, which, this film does have some. It has no suspense, and I have to stress, my earlier craft service jape. I mean, this movie is dirt cheap. I'm talking cheap. Like Eric said, the sets look like they were made of cardboard and duct tape. It's stiff as starch and overwrought in its dialogue to the point of, I started to feel nauseous. There's so much talking going on, and that is if the constant noise level as well. I mean, it's really loud and shrill, and I think of its most egregious sin to me is like the cast members. they spend an ornate amount of time talking, and if they're not talking, they're shouting, and if they're not shouting, they're whimpering incessantly, and the latter especially as it relates to the film's final girl, Megan, who might be the worst character in any movie ever. She spends 99% of her screen time simpering and wailing like someone just slapped her in the face with a rainbow trout, and she has these facial expressions that are kind of tantamount to like dealing with a stuck turd while stuck on the toilet. I mean, what were they thinking with this girl? I mean, calling her annoying would be like an insult to adjectives. I mean, she's inhumanly awful. There's a throwaway line of dialogue in the film where one character states that the producers, they want the cast to talk as much as possible so that the audience can get to know them. But if we're going off the overall message of the movie, why would anyone look at these people as anything more than victims or want to? I mean, you'd think like the savage bloodlust that has become kind of audience demand would see this show tank in the ratings with all the incessant chattering and lack of killing. And like the rest of the cast, they don't really fare much better than Megan in the sympathy or acting departments. In fact, the only one with even a slight modicum of talent would be the actor playing both Chainsaw Charlie and the Preacher Man. And that's an honorific he probably got for being the only genuine actor on set.
Oh, is that the same actor playing two roles?
Yeah, he plays both roles.
I didn't realize.
And it's probably because, he was the only actor on set, or they couldn't afford to hire another hobo off the street. I don't know. I mean, I know you typically look the other way when it comes to acting in slasher films, but my God, the cast of characters here on their own arguably make the case, or make the cast of something like Don't Go in the Woods appear Shakespearean by comparison. I mean, it's not all bad, to be fair. I mean, it's an ambitious movie despite the, like we said, the cardboard sets and the non-acting. They went to painstaking detail to give the game show elements this kind of one-take look where the camera never cuts, and they do a good job of hiding the cuts that they needed to make to achieve this effect. I also really enjoyed the initial setup with the Japanese game show elements, which were very zany and genial. I really loved that. And that theme song is also it's hideously catchy. I'll say that. It's also got a few clever bits of misdirection, like Nathan said, pausing the action for commercial breaks. I got a big laugh from that. And the running subplot of Hideo, the cameraman, who he appears to want to help, but he's kind of bound by honor to his job. I think his kind of storyline pays off in a surprising way as well. And since he's never really seen and he's only heard a few times, he's easily the most tolerable character in the film. I also kind of like the twist, like you guys said, involving the character of Michael, which shockingly enough appears to have been ripped off wholesale about 9 years later in a major studio franchise sequel, which I won't spoil. But they ripped that plot line off big time. And, I guess there's a level of satire here. I mean, bits of it did elicit a giggle or two from me, especially the insistence on the characters engaging in titillation to buy time, because the slashers can't kill you if you're, like, say, having sex or flashing your breasts, because, it titillates the audience. But the characters, there's no suspense to be had because it's impossible to care about anyone. The killers aren't scary in the least either. It's like they went into a Spirit Halloween store, their post-October closeout sale, and said, just give me what you have left. And, they also spend a lot of time talking, when more than they do killing. And like Eric said, I think they're dispatched rather easily between these long stints of dialogue. So even beyond the bad costumes and the worse acting, they don't even really get a chance to be scary. I think the one interesting bit that could have been expanded upon was the quote unquote human elements of the slashers themselves. Like you guys said, Chainsaw Charlie, he's like this carnival geek hillbilly with a chainsaw and this ridiculous faux Southern accent. But there's a scene late in the film, like Nathan said, where was it Rick, Nathan? Yeah, where he catches him off guard and we get a glimpse behind that costume. And I thought, they could have taken the film in an unpredictable direction with that. But fancy that happening. What else can I say? I'd seen this once before around the time it came out. I think Nathan may have alerted me to it. My memory of it going into the episode was that, it was okay for what it was. I mean, it's not a hateful movie. It's it at least has its heart in the right place. And like I said, it's very ambitious beyond its means, but ultimately it's just a really bad movie. And I watched the 2-hour cut, so at 2 hours, it's a real endurance test. But I do have an idea for a sequel. If they ever do make a sequel, instead of putting 6 strangers in with a group of psycho killers, just make them watch slashers instead. And the lone person who makes it to the end of the movie gets the money and a Purple Heart for bravery.
Oh, well, then that would be me.
Yeah, well...
Because I loved it.
Well, I'm going to...
Oh, wait.
Yes, Nathan's on tenterhooks. Well, actually, I'm more towards what Nathan and Jake said about the movie. I do. I remember quite enjoying it last time I saw it. And this time, again, I saw the 2-hour cut, and it is an endurance test. But there's a lot of good things in it. I think there's a lot of really interesting things going on in the movie. And I think it's incredibly well put together. The whole one-take thing is very accomplished for such a low-budget movie. I do find the Megan character incredibly annoying, and I do agree that it would have been better. I mean, one plot hole was that she came on, could have said her shtick to when at the beginning bit before she went down to be murdered, and said, "I hate the show. You murdered my boyfriend" on national TV, and then excused herself and went. There's no real reason why she went through of actually going into the game show itself. But having said that, I thought it was just a fun movie. It very much had that kind of whole thing. I can't try to remember what the name of the show was, but it was the famous Japanese show that Clive James used to show on TV, clips from.
Oh, yeah.
What was that called? It was a Japanese game show where the people weren't killing each other.
Well, there's several.
I can't remember, but it was the one where they were doing all these kind of stunts and it was kind of
Extreme,
it was obviously from
Yeah,
from that, and also Battle Royale came out the year before this. So the whole thing with the collars, with the things vibrating, obviously in Battle Royale, people's heads exploded if they did endurance. That was it. So it was kind of a clever sort of mishmash of that, and also, of course, coming off the back end of the Blair Witch Project and that kind of, it was kind of right at the height of all the kind of found footage stuff. And although it's not really a found footage movie, I found. On one of the Reddits for found footage discussion, people arguing about, is it a found footage movie? But it certainly has those kind of elements. But I think the gore was incredible for such a low budget movie. I thought the killers were really well played, and I liked the kind of Victorian doctor, the killer doctor, kind of the English guy. I thought he had the right mix of menace and humour. I agree some of the acting from the other characters. It was obviously somebody who wrote, when they wrote the script, obviously the director wrote the script, it obviously all sounded good on paper, but it's far too wordy. I think it would have been benefited from cutting the dialogue right down. Having said that, I thought there was a lot of good stuff in this. I think he's just hampered by the budgetary stuff. If this had got a $1 million budget, it would have worked much better, I think. But despite its shortcomings, I think it's an interesting film. It's a fun film, and I kind of enjoyed rewatching it. So yes, a very mixed bag there, Jake. Does that surprise you? Kind of what the difference in opinions, because we're not always kind of in having such vastly differing opinions on films.
Honestly, I kind of thought there was going to be a difference of opinions with this one, just because, as Eric and Joseph were saying, it does have its major limitations, and the cast is unbearable. But to yours and Nathan's point, there's just so much charisma and charm, and I think given those limitations, maybe had it had a bigger budget, I don't know if you would necessarily be getting as much of that too at the same time. So yeah, I think it's not a shocker that there's a split take of opinions here.
One thing I wanted to say is about the ending. So I forgot to mention this. I kind of like the ending of the movie where, Megan wins. And I especially like when she's walking out and Miho is trying to interview her. And she's just like, F off. And Miho's like, what enthusiasm.
One of the very last lines in the movie, she's like, Hideo, I'll pay you, turn the camera off. So it's he gets his money at the end,
He gets his money. I'm glad that she said that too. But I like the end where, she's, basically still trying to be like, I'm going to use all this money to fight you. And then she's kind of looking at all these fans cheering, and they just don't give a crap about what she's saying at all. They want to watch carnage. And I think that at the end, she kind of just stops and realizes she can't really fight this. It's too big for her to fight. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way to end the movie, where she just kind of gives up on this quest to bring them down.
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the funniest reasons for any character being involved in the show is they only really talk about this in the extended cut of the film. But there's a scene where Rick is talking about how he entered the show because he lost the dare.
He has the best friends.
Yeah, they're like, are you kidding me? Like, everyone has like their, I guess, like practical reasons for going on the show, and Rick is just like, nah, I just lost the dare, so here I am.
Honestly, I feel like the only two that had good reasons was Rebecca and Michael. Like, he's a serial killer, so he's like, whatever.
What was Rebecca's reason?
She has MS, so she didn't want to end up, like basically an invalid, not able to take care of herself. So she just kind of wanted to do the extreme stuff until it was too late.
Okay, yes, I remember now. Yeah, because I didn't realize there was a 2-hour cut of this out there. I saw a 99-minute version, which I think is the original.
I envy you.
Straight to DVD. Now,
that's the preferred cut. I think there's 99 minutes one is the preferred cut for the director.
Shorter, honestly, but okay.
Yeah. In terms of reality TV slashers, I still much prefer Halloween Resurrection. I know everyone hates it, but I think it's really fun, and it was around about the same time. And so were things like My Little Eye, which I don't know. I can't remember much about My Little Eye except that I did enjoy it.
There's one from Sorry, Eric. There's one from 97 or 98 called Colobos or Colobos.
Yes, yeah.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, it's around that time there was a big sort of focus on reality TV slashers, I suppose, or horrors in general.
Out of interest, have any of you guys seen End of the Line?
Yes, it's been a little bit. I do remember really enjoying that movie. The movies that I still haven't seen that Maurice directed that I would really like to get around to are Lady of the Lake and Blood Symbol, which I know is actually coming out from Terrorvision soon.
I remember liking it fairly well, but it's one of those ones that I haven't watched near as much as I watch slashers.
I mean, I think it's a much better film than slashers. I think it is. He had a budget of about, this was $165,000 Canadian, which is about, I don't know, $52 American nowadays. I don't know anyway.
Yeah, these days.
But it was hundreds, whereas End of the Line was $200,000 budget, a little bit more, but it looks great, and it's kind of that also has like really interesting things to say about kind of is all about religious extremism, and these people trapped on a subway with these kind of religious extremist kind of end of day type Christians who were going to trying to kill them with these sort of, I think if I remember correctly, kind of cross-shaped daggers. So a little bit similar to what you saw in slashers, but then it kind of goes into that supernatural kind of rapture style thing, and it was really, really well done. I thought it was an excellent film. I gave it 4 stars on Hysteria Lives. So if you haven't seen that, I'd definitely say check it out. Even if you didn't like slashers, I think it's a much more accomplished film than slashers. As much as I like that one. But that, as far as I know, that was his last film he made. Because I was looking at some just details. I did interview him about it, and he wasn't actually a big fan. Although he made slasher movies, he wasn't a massive fan of slasher movies. Apparently, he kind of got himself pigeonholed into it a bit. Said
he didn't like Friday the 13th. I know he said that.
That's right. He liked Halloween and films like that, but he didn't particularly like Friday the 13th. But he said that was quite unusual for a Canadian filmmaker, because he's French Canadian, but obviously he made films in English because they obviously needed to make money abroad, was that it was a real struggle to get the finances together, and it was a rarity that he actually made it without any government help. So most French Canadian movies are made with government help, and therefore they tend to be more art house based, or sort of more kind of society, kitchen sink drama
stuff
type
that
things.
You like.
Stuff that I like, of course.
Yeah,
yes,
like Cocteau and
Jean Cocteau. Yeah, yes, all that. Yes, Ingmar Bergman, all the films I watch every Saturday night. But he put all his money into that. But apparently, the interview I saw with him about End of the Line, it's the last film he made. It's quite sad because he said he only made 35% of the budget back, and he put basically all the money he put into the film, he saved up till $200,000 over years to make the budget, and he only got 35% of it back, which is probably the reason he didn't make any more films. So it goes to show that obviously that dedication to getting films made, I think, is quite very admirable, really. And he went out on End of the Line, which I think is a fantastic movie. So again, just can reiterate, sort of do catch up with that if you it's similar. It's a slasher movie, but religious and supernatural overtones. So I think it's one that we could do on the podcast at some time.
I mean, he's very ambitious. Definitely has talent. I just think he needs an editor, honestly. at least with this movie is concerned.
Yeah, well, obviously this film did, I think it was debuted at Fantasia probably in 2001 or 2000, the 2-hour version, which is had been unseen, but then got edited down to 99 minutes for its release on video. But it did actually get a cinema release in Canada from what I was reading. So, but not anywhere else, I don't think. I kind of went straight to video in UK. I imagine it probably got cut on UK. I'm not sure back in 2001 whether the BBFC would have allowed such gory mayhem as we saw in this movie.
Probably not, yeah.
No. But Jake, have you got any kind of other background, any other thoughts on the movie?
So actually talking about the budget, listening to the commentary, Maurice did talk about how the budget was originally supposed to be $1 million Canadian, so I guess $250 compared to like 52.
Yeah.
But I guess through just a term of just losing some financiers, the film did end up having a budget of $150,000 or $165,000. So I do think maybe going into this project, he had higher ambitions for that reason of like being under the expectation that like, hey, I would have more money to work with. So that was one thing. We did talk about the theme song, which is actually sung by the actress who played Miho.
I do love that song.
Yeah, and originally there was actually going to be a comic book concept for the villains as well. So each villain was going to kind of have like their own comic book release and background to give a little bit more backstory as to like where they were coming from. And believe it or not, there was actually the original cut of the film was 2 hours and 12 minutes, which is a version that no one has ever seen. But Maurice was saying how, it was a real struggle to cut out apparently even 12 minutes of the film to get it down to 2 hours, which was his original agreement with the distributor. And like Justin was saying, the film did originally premiere at Fantasia Fest in 2001. There is some of that footage that's actually on the TerrorVision release, and it's a lot of fun to check out. Just because like the crowd was super into it. They had Neil Napier, who played Chainsaw Charlie. He got in the whole getup and like ran around on stage in a chainsaw. So it was just like a really fun premiere. They had all the actors and actresses there. The film was also continuously shot through 25 days of shooting. So it took roughly almost about a month to shoot. They did say that the way the film was shot was like continuous too. So essentially they would shoot it linear. And then like once they wrapped for a day, they would pick up where they left off the very next day. So that kind of does like play to that element of like being a continuous, just one shot sort of ordeal too. The colors. So I know we talked about Battle Royale and the influence coming from there. He did insist in the commentary that he actually hadn't seen Battle Royale prior to this movie coming out because the film was already in pre-production when Battle Royale released. What is really funny is just to play to the budget, those collars are bicycle lights.
Well, the shock collar thing, like you said, it was in Battle Royale. They kind of play with it a little bit in The Running Man, although it's more in the prison. They don't actually put them on him on the game show. I thought they should have done that in that movie as well, but I like the idea of shock collars. I got a kick out of poor Rick constantly being shocked, and they had this really hideous electricity sound effect, and he's just kind of writhing on the floor. I admit to laughing at that.
One thing I did see, I mean, IMDb has the only bit of trivia it has on there is for this movie. It said that the director said that a sequel wasn't made for legal reasons, but I couldn't find out any more. But did he talk about that in the commentary?
Not too much, no.
I'm guessing it's international elements, maybe like all the Japanese stuff.
Yeah, I know he did say the film. He was like, you could look at the credits, like there's so many executive producers on it, so. From my understanding, there was just a lot of hands involved, and maybe that was just part of the reason too, where it's such a mess that you didn't want to be bothered with the sequel.
Well, it sounds like it's the release of that other, what's it called? Was it Blood Symbol?
Yes.
The two earlier, Lady in the Lake or whatever it was called, but the fact he's still involved in the kind of curating of his own films, which is good. So he's obviously still around. So that's good. So any last words on slashers?
Super fun.
Oh, he beat me to it.
So, well, what was the consensus on the group, Joseph, for slashers?
Not a lot of comments, but here's the top 3 from what we did get. Slashers demonstrates remarkable creativity, even though it is so similar to films like The Running Man and Battle Royale. The director makes the most of limited resources, and the faux live broadcast style brings authenticity, while the satire of reality TV enhances the film's ambitious nature. That was from Sean Guerrero. Well, it's super fun, of course, but most of all, it's super talkative, making sure that any hint of suspense is talked to death. Interesting concept that a proper filmmaker could have directed the hell out of. However, that didn't happen here, and the result is terrible and unsavable. That's from Ingo Dirkschneider. And this one says, I have a complicated relationship with this one. The concept is revolutionary for its time, and while the execution is sloppy, it moves fast and it's a good time overall. I do like the filmmaker's attempt to simulate long, unbroken takes, and I especially dig how the killers and their potential victims have to freeze, sometimes mid-kill, for the commercial breaks. Worth a watch. That was from Gregory Burkhart. So thank you guys for writing in.
Excellent. Okay. And it's going to, we're now going to go to the equivalent of a shock collar. It's Eric's Joke of the Week.
It's my Joke of the Week. It's so freaking fantastic.
Did you hear about the new version of Big Brother where the object of the game is to get tuberculosis? It's part of this new trend of reality TB. Reality TB.
Oh my God.
That's terrible. Oh my God, that's dark.
We do have to apologise, Jake.
No, Jake's loving it. Look.
I was taken back, but, not bad, not bad.
My uncle died of TB, you bastard.
Well, let's have a little bit of a chat about what we've been watching recently. So, Jake, as our guest of the week, is there anything you've seen you want to tell us about?
There's a couple things. I guess to kick it off, has anyone seen VHS Halloween yet?
Not yet, but I have it in my to watch queue. Is it good?
It's on my list. I saw it had pretty good reviews because my problem with those is they tend to be, we're talking about slashers being kind of shrill. And some people found it shrill. That I found like those films have got no downtime. They're just going to go, kind of TikTok, kind of fast cutting.
I thought it was good. I think it was one of the best ones of the past decade. I did have my issues with it. I thought that, how like each VHS movie has like its overlying story in between the segments. I did feel that the overlying story with this one was maybe one of the weaker ones of like the recent VHS films. However, I would say the last two stories are some of the best VHS segments that I've seen in general out of like any of the films.
How many segments is there?
There is, I believe, 5 total. Alex Ross Perry directed one of them, which is the second to last one. That one is so dark, especially from like a general standpoint. It involves like child murders and abductions. So, from there, it's like going to be crazy. And then the last one, without going into crazy spoilers, is essentially about a home haunt that comes to life. So super fun. There's an insane cameo in the last segment too. You'll be like, oh, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I thought it was super fun. Pun intended. On top of that, I watched Venom, the movie from 2005, the Jim Gillespie movie. Haven't you ever seen that before?
Yeah, I met a few of the cast members at a convention. Nice people.
Oh, no way. Yeah, it was the first time watch. I thought it was a lot of fun. It did kind of give me like Jeepers Creepers vibes in a way. But yeah, I think for a slasher from that era, it's, a good, just like middle of the pack comfort movie. And then on top of that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I did go to like a Fulci retrospective at my local theater recently. So they showed House by the Cemetery, they showed The Beyond, and then they showed Don't Torture a Duckling in 3 consecutive weeks.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it was awesome. They had a professor from one of the local colleges come out and talk about the films and Fulci in general. So that was a lot of fun. I think other than that, that's kind of it on my end.
Cool. Okay, we'll have to check out Halloween, VHS Halloween.
Because I really liked the last one. I can't remember what it was called.
Was that the Alien-based one?
How many are there? Because I lost track around 94 or 85 or whatever it was called.
This must be the 6th or 7th, is it?
I believe so.
Well, Eric, have you seen anything else you want to tell us about?
I didn't really get to see anything new this week, but one I forgot to mention on the last episode, and I think we've probably all seen it. And speaking of children being abducted, it's Weapons, of course, which was the huge big release back in August. and I loved it. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the director's previous film, Barbarian. I thought it was okay. I couldn't see what the fuss was about with Barbarian, though. But with Weapons, I could, because I thought it was suitably outlandish. My fear was that it was going to be we're not a horror film type of horror films, but it wasn't. It went full on in the final sort of half hour. One thing I found really odd about it, though, is the tonal shifts it takes. There's a certain character who's almost played for laughs in certain scenes. It's we're doing this commentary for Halloween 5 tomorrow, and this character is kind of like the comedy cops of Weapons. You almost expect sort of boings and whistles and stuff to be happening in the background. But I just love the structure of it. It's done like Pulp Fiction, or one of those fractured narrative ones where it follows around a character for maybe 15 minutes, then switches to another character, and you see the plot developing from their point of view, and then they sort of all intersect at the end. I thought that was so well done. It's a 2-hour film, but it just whizzed by. I thought I was really impressed with it. It does get very, very silly, but that's a huge compliment from me, because I like when things get really silly towards the end. But I was taken aback a little at how slapsticky certain moments are in the finale, when it's quite a dark movie up to that point.
I was going to say, I was very impressed by Toy's performance as Aunt Gladys. I thought, normally one to give plaudits, but I thought she did really well.
You all going to sit there and let him talk to me like that? That's my usual line, Jake, every week.
After 14 years, it's one in one ear and out the other for me, buddy. Sorry.
So, Jake, have you seen Weapons?
Yes, I have. And I thought it was a lot of fun, too. And I do agree with Eric. I thought like kind of the Pulp Fiction element to the film being told in like a nonlinear narrative was really interesting. The one thing that really didn't sit well with me in that movie was the very, very silly end to it. I think that it could have had a much more suspenseful ending, and it probably would have, ultimately maybe been like a star rated higher for me. But overall, I think it was a really unique movie. I thought it was a ton of fun to see in theaters. So, yeah.
Well, the director's doing the next Resident Evil movie, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is a kind of an odd choice, isn't it? In some ways, you think
it
sort
is.
of like for the momentum of his career to be then taking on that. But it sounds like they've said, from what I read, he said that they've just said he can just do whatever he wants with it. So it might be kind of an interesting take on it. But it feels like those movies have kind of been done to death, quite literally. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it does with it. So, who'd forgotten where Eric, is there anything else?
Pretty sure that was the only one I saw.
Okay. Well, thank you. Nathan, how about you?
I haven't seen any movies since we last recorded, but I did start watching that Ed Gein, the Monster Show on Netflix. I'm only one episode in, but I'm really liking it so far. And I kind of am glad, I guess, that I kind of gone in now knowing what to expect, because I've already heard from plenty of people who don't like it that it is not very faithful overall to the actual story. They take a lot of creative, control over it, apparently, and everything. So I kind of am just going into this show just seeing it as kind of just a fictionalized version of the story. And so, in that respect, so far, I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing. So I look forward to seeing more of it, because you said, Justin, that they recreate some Texas Chainsaw scenes. So I can't wait to get to that.
Yeah, there's have you seen it, Jake?
Yes, I have. And yeah, I'm glad I actually didn't talk about it too much, because probably would have gone into spoilers. But yeah, I do think some of those recreation scenes are fun too.
Yeah, because they do recreations of Psycho, and they have Alfred Hitchcock in there, and then they have Toby Hooper actually talking about how he kind of came up with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And there's a great scene in it where he kind of daydreaming, he's in a queue at a department store at Christmas, and then he sees a chainsaw on the table, and he picks it up and starts it, and then starts cutting people in the queue up. It's kind of like a daydream.
That's my ultimate dream.
Is it
killing people in a queue? Yeah,
yeah. But I thought it was, I've probably about 2 or 3 to go. But from what I've read, I knew about a bit about the Ed Gein story, and obviously it's inspiration for Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs. I don't know if do they go into Silence of the Lambs at all?
Yes, they do. They do Silence of the Lambs, Texas Chainsaw, Psycho. And then I thought a really fun tidbit was when Alfred Hitchcock goes to see Bloody Pit of Horror.
What is good for me, kind of what impresses me, the fact is that I you would never be able to get, like 20 years ago, you'd never be able to get a show like this. I know it's got pretty bad reviews, but I think it's the most watched series on Netflix this month or whatever. But actually having the budget to recreate those things in the way that they do, it is something you just wouldn't have had 20 years ago, or anyone taking on this kind of subject matter would never have been able to, to have the budget to make things look as good as they do. But Joseph, have you seen it or got any interest?
I'm not really interested in serial killers, but I do want to see it for all the recreations. Ever since, I think it was Halloween Kills, the way they did that recreation of Dr. Loomis and all that, I've kind of got this fixation on all these recreation stuff, so I really want to see that element.
Yeah, me too. I would agree. Yeah.
But I think Charlie Hunnam's pretty good in it, considering that there was a lot of people taking the piss. Considering,
yeah, I know why you like Charlie Hunnam, Justin, you dirty trollop.
Eric, no, he's not like played up to be hot in this show. At least not from what I've seen so far.
Okay.
Stuart keeps on doing his voice when he says, "Do you want a cup of tea?" So, okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. Was there anything else?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. Joseph, how about you?
Nothing really new, but one of the pleasures I have left in life is I don't really have a lot of money and my time is dwindling, but one of the pleasures I do have in life, there's a thrift store about a mile from me, and the lady who owns it, she gets a lot of VHS tapes in, and she sells them to me for $0.25. I can afford $0.25 for a tape, but I finally got my VCR working, so the last 2 days I've had kind of like mini VHS marathons, and I love looking at some of the old trailers and just the static and the bad picture and the buzzy audio. It just really brought me back to a much simpler time. So I kind of needed that. I didn't watch anything new, but I had a lot of fun watching some really crappy VHS tapes. So if you're a fan of nostalgia like I am, I would totally recommend doing that once a month. It's a palate cleanser.
Well, out of curiosity, if she holds back all the VHS for you, have you gotten any like really good finds, like horror wise?
Horror wise, I've got a couple, but it's mostly I've been buying everything like drama, comedy, musical, everything. Because what my ultimate goal before I die, I want to build a replica video store somehow.
Oh,
so I've just been
amazing.
buying, everything I can find that doesn't have any mold on it or any issues, so I'll just buy it. They're $0.25, and she'll text me when she has them. So I've really appreciated that. I'm up to, I think, almost 300 tapes now, so you can see some of them behind me.
Yeah, I do.
But I've been having a lot of fun with that. But I haven't seen anything new, Justin.
Okay, right. Well, thank you. I've not seen, there's a couple of things. For the book, I rewatched The Crush, with the one with Alicia Silverstone playing the psycho 14-year-old who gets a crush on, is it Gary Elwes?
Gary Elwes.
Yeah. Which is kind of ridiculous. It's got, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's got the ending where her father has built a full-scale carousel in their attic, which as soon as you see it earlier in the movie, you know exactly that's going to end up in at the end. And there's a fantastic bit where, like, the protagonist kind of, Alicia Silverstone by that point has gone completely batshit crazy, and she's got this poker, and he punches her in the face, and she flies through the air like a 1970s Hong Kong martial arts movie. It's so ridiculous that it should be shocking, but it's so ridiculous. And the other bit, my favourite bit in the movie, is that it's Jennifer Rubin, isn't it, who's in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I think. She plays a photographer in the movie, and so Alicia Silverstone sort of gets jealous of her, and so she's Jennifer Rubin's in this kind of dark room she's got outside, like in a garage, but Alicia Silverstone gets a wasp nest and carries it across Seattle in a carrier bag, and then holds it up to the side of this vent, and all these wasps fly in. In fact, they're not even wasps; they're bees, but they all fly in and sting Jennifer Rubin, who doesn't die. Her character doesn't die. But I just like this idea that this 14-year-old girl, one, could get a wasp nest off a tree and put it in a carrier bag and carry it across Seattle to do these terrible things. So I really enjoyed that. It was really stupid, but it was kind of fun.
I got a question for you, Justin. I mean, it really won't apply to you specifically. However, I do like the crush. I think it's a lot of trashy fun. I love the scene where Carrie always punches her and she flies across the attic.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. However, Alicia Silverstone, I think she really was 14 or 15 in that movie when they filmed it. And they sexualize her, and it's extremely
Really?
gross. Yeah.
She was really like 14? I did not know that.
She was 15 when she was 14 in the movie, but her character's 14, but she was 15 years old when she made it. I mean, it's a similar thing to Poison Ivy with Drew Barrymore. She was kind of 16, wasn't she, who made it?
Holy tomatoes.
It just kind of skeeves me out. Other than that, I like the movie, but they do spend an ornate amount of time kind of focusing on her curvature, which ugh.
Well, it's interesting. I rewatched the Stanley Kubrick Lolita from 1962 the other day to see the comparisons, because there's a lot of comparisons with that movie. It's kind of, there's both of them, the main characters are writers, and the kind of sexualization of the kind of young girl. So there's a lot of kind of visual comparisons there as well. But it's interesting looking at sort of the reviews at the time, and the same with Poison Ivy. They don't make any they say things like like with Drew Barrymore and Poison Ivy, they were saying things like from toddler to seductress. So they kind of, the way they kind of use these, they weren't actually really shocked by the use of these kind of young girls in the films, which you would see today. But another tidbit which I thought was interesting was that in The Crush, it was based on a real life case by the director who had a teenage girl who had a crush on him. I don't think she killed anyone or stung any, got any wasp nest in bags, maybe, I don't know. But apparently, and I did see this is in the Los Angeles Times, so apparently it is true. But I'll say allegedly because I'm not sure. But apparently, they called the character Darian in the film. She's called Adrian, which is a strange name for a girl. I know sometimes you do, but originally she's called Darian. But apparently, the original girl from 1982 that had a crush on him was also called Darian. So he just used her real name for the Alicia Silverstone character, and so she sued him and Warner Brothers. So they had to go through every time they mentioned the name Darian, they had to change it to Adrian, and it sounds quite seamless. But looking back at the old reviews and in newspapers, they all said her name was Darian. They do, that's what they call her, and that's what she's listed as. So there seems to be kind of some veracity also to those rumors. So the only other thing I saw, and I did mention this to you guys because I had a interesting coming up for Halloween, potentially real life supernatural incident, although I don't think it was, but I watched True Haunting on Netflix, the Eerie Hall episodes. There's three. I think there's five episodes. The first three are based around this kind of inverted commas real life case of this college student at a place actually called Eerie Hall, and he basically becomes haunted by some kind of presence. And he's a runner, and he runs through the woods, and the intimation is that somehow he found something in the woods. They came back with him, and it's produced by James Wan from The Conjuring and all that kind of universe. So, but it's kind of really well done. It's set in 1984, and it looks great. Everyone has really, really big chunky glasses. They don't try and the main guy has like a really bad blonde perm, so it looks very like 1984. But at the end of the first episode, there's a scene that he's in his dorm room with his dorm mate and the other person. No one's seen this thing, but he says there's somebody under. They're on these kind of bunk beds. He said there's something underneath, and he comes down and sort of tries to look for it. And the tape recorder keeps on turning on Mad World by Tears for Fears.
Good taste in music.
Yeah.
And then he says his father has taught him to count from 1 to 10, and then when he counts to 10, nothing bad will happen if you kind of wait. And he was counting down, and literally at the moment he got to about 4, there was this massive pounding at our front door, like 2 massive bangs, like someone had a battering ram, which I just completely shat myself because I just jumped. And it was kind of not like a knock; it was like somebody had kind of body thumped into the door. And Stuart was asleep next to me. He'd just fallen asleep, and so he didn't hear it. And the dog was asleep, and then I'm the only person who heard it. So I turned off the sounds, and I heard nothing else. And I looked through the peephole on the door. There was nobody there.
Eric, did you like my shutter speed jape toward Justin earlier in the week when he relayed that story to us? He's like, I looked over to Stuart, and I'm like, but Justin, Stuart's been dead for 10 years.
Friends, yeah. Justin, I did. I've from your recommendation, I've watched the first 2 episodes so far, and yeah, what sets this apart from other haunting things that I've seen, and when I say haunting things, I usually mean like the Discovery Channel, like cheapo ones. This one with James Wan behind it has a budget, so they do all these recreations that are like little vignettes taken from The Conjuring or Insidious or any of those type of things, which makes them kind of fun. Now, I was critiquing the latest Conjuring movie in the last episode. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but in context of this TV show, you get little bite-sized, 2 or 3 minute versions of scare scenes, which works really well, I think. I mean, that's scene where you see the shadowy figure appearing at the end of the bed and stuff like that is, I thought, really effective in this movie. So it's like they're like little mini horror movies, and it just shows how effective The Conjuring could be if they weren't 135 minutes, if they were like 5 maybe.
Yeah, have you seen it, Jake? Have you got any?
I have, actually. I finished it up 2 days ago, so it's funny you brought it up. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun too. Something kind of unique about that first story was it takes place at State College Geneseo, which is upstate New York. And we have like a lot of people from around here go to that college. So like one of my close buddies went there. I've been meaning to text and be like, hey, like, experience anything spooky while you were up there? Or but yeah, no, I thought it was a lot of fun. Like Eric was saying, what's nice is like it has a little bit of a budget behind it since James Wan was involved. So I thought like a lot of those recreations were just like a lot of fun too. I did forget to ask, have you started The Perfect Neighbor on Netflix yet?
Oh God, I want to watch it so bad.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's very I didn't want to bring it up because it's not really horror, but I just saw,
it's like a true crime.
Yeah, but it's just such like a moving documentary. Without going too much into it, essentially, the premise of it was that it's comprised of mainly body cam footage from like police officers who were responding to this crazy lady in Florida who kept like calling the cops on like kids just playing in the street. She was just like essentially blatantly racist. So she was just having issues with like all these kids in the neighborhood. And like through the depiction of these body cam like of the footage, eventually escalates to a situation where unfortunately someone tragically dies. And it became a big widespread like media case here in the States because the lady who is essentially like the crazy lady who shoots someone in the documentary was trying to say it was a stand your ground, which like essentially what the stand your ground laws are laws in the States, specifically in Florida, where someone could shoot someone and say that they did it out of fear, and they could essentially get off scot-free rather than like it's a very hazy code, like a very hazy law. There's a lot of debate around it for good reason. So she did end up getting convicted, but I just thought it was like a really, really interesting and powerful documentary. And I think it's one that might even get nominated for some Oscars.
I can't wait to watch it.
Is it a documentary? Is it one-off or is it a series?
No, it's a one-off. So it's about, I think the runtimes are roughly like 90 minutes.
Cool. Okay. Right. Well, I think we've got lots of recommendations there. So, Jake, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jake. And I can't hold it in any longer, Jake. I've got to mention something real quick. You probably don't know who this is, but you are the dead ringer for a boxer named Richard Torres. The voice, the stash, the hair.
How'd you spell Torres? I'm going to Google
Richard Torres. You look just like him. You sound just like him too.
So everyone's Googling that, but
yeah, I kind of see it.
All righty.
Excellent. Right. Well, thank you again, Jake. Is there anything you're working on, or any projects you've got going that you think might be of interest?
Nothing too crazy. If you want to find me on the internet, I'm not super active. My Instagram, I believe, is like @_distorted visions or something like that. It's a Reaper is like the photo, but other than that, yeah, not too much.
So did you have any ideas of what you'd like to play out with? Have you put any thought to that?
It's got to be the Slashers intro.
That's what I was going to play out with, the theme song.
Whose pick is it next?
Yours.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, Eric, I will give you a bit of a break since,
Yay.
I think that I was going to pick something like 555, but
I've never seen it.
I'm going to go with The Pool from 2001, the swimming pool slasher.
Excellent. Okay. Well, good stuff. So, we'll look forward to that. But once again, Jake, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jake.
And so it's been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. And and everyone watching, thank you, or listening, thank you for joining us, and catch us next time as we take a dip in the bloody pool, courtesy of Nathan. So, thanks everyone, and say goodbye to the good people. So, goodbye from me.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.